The professor
Uh-oh.
himself.
Uh-oh.
The
Uh-oh.
professor. That's your new name, Professor
All right.
Bro Elliott
Okay.
McCants. Let me get the share.
I had to put my glasses on so I look professional.
Oh, for sure. Okay. Let me get this together for you. Let me get the share game on. I'm trying to find the line.
All right.
It won't let me find it. Okay, here we go. Oh, there we go. Now I can start sharing. Let me get the share game on for you.
Okay.
Let me get my share game. Good morning to you, beautiful people.
Yeah. Good morning, family. How y'all doing? Thank you for joining us again this morning. Hopefully we'll give you some breakfast food with breakfast.
Yeah, give them some breakfast food.
Okay, well, we going back at it again where we left off at.
For sure. Where do we leave off at, good
Okay,
brother?
we left off at talking about how these holidays are created
Uh-oh.
and they're pagan in their ideology. And
Okay.
what they consider to be pagan is not really pagan. It's just something that is not of the traditions and the dogma of the church that from which they come from.
Got you.
Okay, so they're actually primitive, and primitive does not mean not knowing. Primitive means first.
Got you.
Okay, so if we really look at the definitions of things, what they call primitive people, they're talking about people that have the first ideologies of things.
Got you.
So African people, we jumping right in it. So get your knife, fork, and spoon, get your napkin, tuck it in. Get your orange juice, your cup of coffee, whatever you got to go to wash it down, because here we come. And so African people were the first to understand that there was a being, and a force that was greater than us, and we acquiesced to it,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Right.
And I should have brought it, and I didn't bring it with me to go in the armory today. But the book called Intellectual Warfare by Dr. Jacob Krulitz, which I brought in before, but I got to bring it back.
Mm-hmm.
He talks about in this last chapter I just read about how in the Greek ideology and their philosophy, Zeus, their main god, is one that has absolutely no order, and he can do whatever he wants to. He can rape the gods, he can rape the women, and this is the same thing that society shows, right? So if you look at how societies are formed, and we're going to go back and then come forward, because we're going to go back and forth, and I need y'all to follow, right? When societies were formed in ancient Africa, in ancient Alkebalan, we're not going to keep calling it Africa because it's not its true name, or Tamari, as Professor Bien, Dr. Bien called it as well. As societies were born, they acquiesced. Grand Rising family, Grand Rising brother Kevin, Grand Rising little mama. Thank you for showing up and hanging out with us.
Yeah, Grand Rising, Mr. Kevin Tay, and Grand Rising Lil Mama.
Yeah,
Thanks for tapping in.
We appreciate y'all tapping in. As societies understood that there was a force bigger than them, they didn't say it rained and then it was we don't know why. They didn't worry about the why. They just knew the rain was important because it gave something to us to grow and eat from. And so, what was the force? So, in Greek philosophy and ideology, which they got from African people, let's be clear, their thing was we're gonna find out why. Why? What? Especially in European ideology, let's find out why. Why these things happen? Why does this happen? Why? That was not what African people were concerned about. What African people were concerned about was we knew that if it rained, that it gave us something because plants started to grow. And that plant gave us food. And that plant gave us medicine, right? And it helped, and if the animals that we were domesticating or working with were eating and drinking from the food and medicine, they too became something that we could get food and medicine from or whatever. Because our diets then didn't consist of a lot of meat. It consisted of a lot of fruits, nuts, because that's what grows first. Meat was used very little and only in sacrificial rites, like when person was growing up, when person was going through rites of passage, they might sacrifice a meat for that, right? And it might have been a wild hog, it might have been a cow that was growing over there or whatever, but those animals were different than what we see domestically. Okay, that's right, berries, grains, right, things like that that were growing peacefully along the Nile, because the Nile, of course, is 4,000 miles long, and it goes from Uganda, what they call Uganda, Rwanda, and Burundi, all the way to the mouth, right? Um, so if I'm eating freely from the land and this stuff is growing and we don't know why it grows and we're not trying to break it down and goes, it goes from the seed and the this and that and the stem and roots and all this other stuff that happened, they didn't care about that. The only thing they knew was they were blessed that we have food. So these are primitive societies that recognize a greater force outside of them than us. Right? Only thing we did was harvest it, and we quickly learned that if we kept the seeds, then when we have less rain sometime or less water because of the cycles of things, we're like, oh, we got to keep some of these seeds so we can grow them. Right? So then moving forward, as we become more and more intelligent and we have less things to battle with, we weren't battling like many other cultures that started later on. That we weren't battling with people in order to live. They had these skirmishes and differences, but most of the time, the council of elders were the ones who solved them. Right? You don't see a lot of conflictual things happening in traditional societies now, the few that are left, because they have a council of people there that mitigate to make sure that nobody dies, because everybody's important. We don't have it here. Definitely don't have it here. Definitely wasn't in Europe, because we should be very clear that in Europe there was nothing but warlike stuff going on from the moment that they arrived on the scene up until now, and it has not changed. So even fighting against each other was always about who can control what resources. Whereas with African people, we had to be in balance with them, because we were very clear that the nature of what we were doing and how we were being was more important for us to be in balance with it than it was for us to be fighting against it. Because you're not going to beat a hippopotamus. You're not going to beat a lion. You're not going to beat an alligator or crocodile. You're not going to beat a leopard. You're not going to beat a bunch of these animals. You're not going to beat snakes. You're not going to be a bunch of these animals that are there naturally, and you're not trying to control them. You're trying to live in harmony with them.
Okay.
So if we're living in harmony with nature, then everything's going to be, hey, look, don't go over there, but see that snake over there, they'll bite you, and see such and such over there got bit. And we had to go find some remedy in nature in order to solve the snake bite, right? Not this stuff where we talking about in the Old West where you take a razor blade or a knife and you cut 2 marks in the arm, suck it out, and then you got poison in your mouth too. And you poison yourself. That ain't how that went. So as we get more cohesive in our balance with nature, we're very clear. Hey, when the hippos is over there, don't go out there and get no water, because them hippos gonna kill you. They've been doing. The hippos is the biggest killer of humankind in the whole world.
Oh yeah, they're very territorial.
Very territorial. So what is you doing out there trying to swim with the hippo? Or if we in the Amazon, you got the migration of the piranhas. What are you doing out there swimming in the? Oh, okay. Well, you just got bit up. And in some of the societies, when there's a violation, the punishment was, guess what? You get to go over there and be with the crocodiles and the hippos. You ain't gonna make it back. So guess what? How much crime did you have? Very little. Why? Because people shared the abundance of what land gave us through God. Now, a lot of people say, there was many gods. No, it was only one God with very many different aspects, because everything had a purpose, and we were very clear about that. Okay, we're very clear about that. Now, Brother Tay says something over here. I want you to go back and look up Henry Kissinger in 1974 when he said makes a statement about if you want to control the people, you control the food. Okay, and then shortly after that, well, actually before that, during Vietnam, you have a group, company called Monsanto that creates Agent Orange, which is Roundup. That when they were looking to be able to get rid of the Viet Cong and during the Vietnam War, they would spray that on the trees, and if it get on the people, then guess what? It's going to happen too. They get poisoned as well, and it didn't matter to them whether it would be American soldiers or Viet Cong.
Oh, so that's why some of the soldiers that came back had Agent Orange.
Agent Orange, absolutely, because that's all it is.
So, and that's how some of the kids, when they had kids, got passed on certain stuff.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now you're talking.
Okay.
I can dig this.
Okay. Okay.
Keep
So
going.
we're going to keep going. We're going to go back and forth. So I need
Go
y'all
ahead.
to follow me. Get your pen and paper out this morning.
He out here preaching this morning.
Okay.
The professor's preaching.
The
Preaching
professors
this.
preach. Uh-oh, we might have to have a new show.
Yeah, you preaching.
Okay. So now, going back to where we come from. So coming up and all of that human development, that Homo sapiens sapien development, okay? The Homo sapiens sapien, which is well over, now we have to recalculate that time. And Homo sapiens sapien means upright man, over 1.2 to 1.5 million years ago.
Okay.
So now if we coming up to now and we're advancing our knowledge of how nature operates, we can never be in violation of nature. The 42 admonitions of Ma'at, which we talked about previously, says that we have to be in balance with nature and humankind in order to keep peace and order inside our societies. European societies don't have that. European societies have been nothing but leeches on the system. They've been nothing but destructors of the system. Why do you think they got zoos? Because you want to now, because now you feel some sort of way about killing all the animals that you had to destroy and have dominion over. Now you put them in zoos to study them, and now we got to save them because they're the reason why that there are fewer animals and there's extinctions of things, because I want to control the environment and not work with the environment. I want to control nature instead of working with nature. So then you create a narrative that says, I'm going to destroy these things, including people. Then I'm going to destroy these things that I can't control. So if we go to what's so-called Greek ideology and Greek philosophy, the Plato, Socrates, and Aristotle were killed because they had learned from Aesop, the Ethiopian, about ideology that comes from Africa. Now, if you look at Aesop's fables talked about a bunch of animals, because many different ways and many different traditional societies in El Kibbalan, they use parables of animals in order to teach this ideology. So the turtle and the hare, and all of these other ones that come from Aesop's fables, they're the ones, he taught them this. They took it and started talking about some other stuff, and they were challenging society. So they got, here, you got to drink this hemlock. Because hemlock can kill you, right? Or you got to drink this quinine. Or you got to drink this that come from apple seeds so that you can die, because you shouldn't be teaching this ideology. But yet, if you look at how if you read, there's a book by, I think her name is Elizabeth Montgomery, and she wrote a book back in the 20s and 30s that we used to study when we talked about Greek philosophy, Greek ideology. Edith Hamilton, and everything in there. The god Zeus was doing whatever he wanted to. He would rape women, he would rape men, rape boys, rape girls, rape the gods. He would do all of this stuff. And guess what? What did their society do? Oh, if God was doing it, then we can do it too. Whereas in our societies, if God was in order, we had to be in order. So there were rules that were like, if you committed a violation against a society, you lost your life. And if you lived, then you already lost and you had to come back and do this again because you didn't meet the balance in the halls of Ani. So your heart was not pure. So then you'd have to die. Your heart got eaten by the goddess Sekhmet, the lion-headed goddess, or sometimes they depict her as a crocodile-headed goddess, because your heart was not as light as an ostrich feather because you did wrong to the society and the people. Now, you're talking about 42 laws instead of 10. Because even when you read the book of Moses, what does he do? He drops some of the tablets. Those other tablets were the 32 other admonitions of Ma'at that said these are things that we should not do so we can get to heaven.
Well, but you got to understand who telling the story.
Of course.
So you got to throw in, and a lot of times people don't really want to add. You have to throw in that thing called racism.
Absolutely.
You got to throw in called being a captive.
Yeah.
Like a lot of people, if you say this now, really you are a POW.
Right.
You
are prisoners of war.
Yeah.
We're still prisoners of war.
But see, people don't, when you go to talking like that, people will go to looking at you like you sideways. Like,
and that's because people are ignorant and they're comfortable in their oppression.
Right.
They're comfortable in their oppression. It's not ignorant of because you are ignorant to the fact that this exists. This exists in every facet of everything that we live.
Facts.
Whether it be education.
Right.
Whether it be going to the grocery store, it doesn't matter.
And then you get to also see, but this is when you getting to see how society is set up. And you see for years they've been arguing about this big thing for decades about high society. You got to look at it. You got the rich versus poor, along with the classism, racism, and all the other isms that go along with it.
Well, they did that really when okay, so let's jump forward to when people left England in the late 1400s.
Okay.
When people left England to come over to this country to so-called colonize it, after they heard that Christoph Colon, which they call Christopher Columbus, Christoph Colon, came back and reported to Catherine and Ferdinand that he found this new land, but he really didn't find anything because there were people here, number one. And number two, he was going to India and got blown off course because he was a poor navigator. Go on, man. We don't study and we don't read.
Good morning, beautiful Deborah Luna.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, family. We don't study and we don't read anything. We just take it for face value because other people tell it to us, and then we want to say we know stuff because somebody told us that instead of going to read. I don't want people to just take what I'm saying for face value. Go look it up.
Oh, yeah, you giving them sources, giving them the book, giving them the people.
Right. So go back and look it up. And if I'm wrong, prove me wrong. Show me if something's different. I don't want to hear about some other groups of people and this and that and other. And like, I get where these other ideologies come from because there's a lot of people that want to claim some things that they have no proof of.
Right.
I don't want to hear that. That's no proof. Thank you very much for the donation.
Deborah Luna with the $5 super chat. Thank you. She always support the team.
Yeah, that's absolutely beautiful. We appreciate it. But we're not talking about stuff that can be proven.
Right.
I'm talking about writers that wrote back in the 1700s and the 1600s and the 1500s. Right. But anyway, so let's go back to what I was talking about before. So when you had the Church of England with Henry VIII, I think we said that was last week. It was Henry VIII. And you had the Protestants and the Methodists.
Right.
And the Protestants were people that protested. Protestants. Right?
Right.
So if you look at the word, they changed it to take the inflection off the last part, but they were protesting the Church of England. Right. So what did they do? They left there and came over here to the new colony to start a new colony on Henry VIII's dime. No problem, because we didn't agree, but he paid them to come over here.
Yeah, no, he was opening up. Remember, he was gonna make England was supposed to be. They opened up. They was letting all the criminals out.
Right. That happens later on because they need help from the indentured servitude.
Gotcha.
But you're right. That still happens. Right.
Right.
So they're dumping out the insane.
Yep.
They're dumping out the criminals.
Facts.
They're dumping out the prostitutes. They're
Right.
dumping on anybody that violated so-called English law, and they're dropping them off over here in these shores to come over here and start to colonize this place.
Right.
But they were already criminals.
Right.
But they just come over here being criminal with a Bible.
Right.
It's no different than what they did when they was on the coastline of Africa in 1400s and couldn't invade the inside until 400 years later.
Right.
But they still were missions.
Right.
They still had missions or missionaries on a mission to start to
Okay.
disrupt what was going on in these societies. And even today, when I hear people, oh, we're missionaries, we're going over to such and such. But you're going over there to preach a doctrine no different than what white people did. Nobody, if you're going to go help people, help people. Don't ask them to change their way of life because their belief system has nothing to do with the infrastructure of what's going on in the country. And if you're not understanding how, right, absolutely. If you don't understand how those people got there, then how in the world is your new way of thinking, your new religious way of thinking, going to change their condition? It's not. So, we're going to Haiti. We're going to help the people there, but we don't want y'all to believe in something that got y'all some freedom.
Yeah, you helping bringing us out, as they say, bringing us up to modernize in the country. Why do I gotta take your belief and your religion
Right.
in your way? Why you know what I'm saying? We doing business. If you building this, your way of life shouldn't be brought on. Let's just say we is a communist. I'm just saying them over. Just say Haiti was a communist country.
Right.
However they doing their thing, you shouldn't be able to come over there just like people coming over here to help us. You shouldn't say America is a Western is not a Western a Catholic.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Country.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Where they will let other religions. You know, you do get to practice yours here.
Right.
But I'm
Supposedly.
supposedly. But you don't. But you shouldn't be. I shouldn't be able to put my beliefs on you. That's what I think. You know what I'm saying? Like they shouldn't do that. Me coming to fix this road over here, fix your water system over here. Stanley Wood, thanks for the $5 super chat. Like, you know what I'm saying? You coming to do that, like, why do I got to take on what you have?
Because the mission is to continue to destroy that because you think, even Pat Robertson said this insanity because about Haiti, talking about they had the earthquake over there in 2013 or 14 because they made a pact with the devil when they got rid of the French. That was the most ignorant thing somebody could say. The only devil that's been over there that's been destructive towards the Haitian people was the United States of America. But you don't want to say nothing about that. You don't want to say anything about the leaders that were put in charge that made sure the American interests were first and foremost, instead of talking about how you want to talk about their original beliefs and stuff like that. You didn't want to talk about how the Spanish came over there and destroyed people, how the European people went over there and destroyed people, how they had all of these plantations set up over there, and then when the African people no longer decided that they wanted to be part of that system anymore and they overthrew it, you don't want to talk about all the hate and destruction and death and everything else that went along with that up until they said we didn't want this yoke anymore. But yet you want to talk about they made a deal with the devil, which is not true. But people believed it because he was on a 500 club and all this other stuff. And he's saying this insanity as a white man who was a preacher.
No, they should have been. But we have let so many of the pastors get away with that. And you know what? And I'm sorry for cutting you off.
No,
but Haiti's still having problems because their greatest problem was that they defeated
the French. Yes, they defeated the French, and they won by using what did Boukman tell people? Throw off the beliefs of a foreign god, and believe in your gods. Why you think that they don't have American gods on there no more with what's the name? Orlando Bloom or Orlando Brown, whatever.
Orlando Brown.
Yeah. Okay. So that whole series, I can't even find that part of the series anymore. Not that I look real difficult, but the bits and pieces, man, he was on point with that. They
Yeah.
let him write it, and then of course they hung him for it because now you're inspiring people again.
Oh, what's the one African leader that he beefing with him right now?
Ibrahim
Yeah,
Traore.
yeah, Ibrahim. But man, listen, you got to understand. I remember Saddam Hussein when he was talking one day. He was talking like how you was talking. He said he didn't want America over in his country, regardless, even though they put him in power. But like he said, he didn't want to go with the belief system that we had.
That's
Like
it.
he said, he didn't want our women, not to say the word, dress
Scantily
inappropriate.
and
Yeah.
inappropriately.
He didn't
Absolutely.
they didn't want that or drinking, you know what I'm saying, all of that. And people gotta understand that, like, okay, just because you help us don't mean. Give you an example. Just say somebody donate $1 million. That don't mean you get to tell me what I gotta do. I still want to hear conversations like this from Brother Elliott. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When they feel like they do something, they own you.
Well, and see, that's the European ideology, right? So if we go back to what we were talking about a bit earlier,
Right.
what Dr. Crothers said was, if your God can do
Mm-hmm.
anything to anybody,
Mm-hmm.
right? So let me give y'all a story, since some of y'all might believe in horoscopes, and you're not looking at it from an African point of view. You're looking at it from a European point of view. How do you think you get to Gemini? Well, let me tell you the story.
Give it to him.
This is in Elizabeth Hamilton's book called Greek Mythology, written in the 30s. Okay, the story is Zeus was in love with these twins, but he was in love with the boy more than he was in love with the girl.
Huh?
Oh, come on now.
I didn't read
Here's
that.
the story.
Go
You got to
ahead.
go get her version. Don't go get the newer version because they edit this out.
Oh wow.
Okay, so they have to take this part out. So what he does is he comes down to Earth as I'm going to say a horse or a bull, right? And it might have been a black bull. And he allows the boy to ride him, and then he takes him back to his bed chambers.
Mm.
So the girl was heartbroken because her brother was taken,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And then when she finds out that her brother was taken, she dies of a broken heart because her brother was taken.
Mm.
So then when the boy finds out his sister dies, he dies shortly after that.
Mm.
So what does he do is he takes them and he puts them in heaven, and they become the Gemini twins.
Oh wow.
But the key part in there is he took the boy back to his bed.
Wow.
Meanwhile, you got to find goddess wife Hera that you're not touching.
Mm.
But yet you sleeping with every other god, every other goddess, every other mortal, every other thing, all of these other people you sleeping with just indiscriminately. So then when we look at Greek society,
What book can I get that from? 'Cause I see Deborah Luna asks for that. Right
okay,
there.
the name of the book is called Greek Mythology by Elizabeth Hamilton. But you want to get the oldest version of that you can. The version I have was copywritten in 1931 or 32.
Mm. Good morning, Vicente. Good brother, Vicente.
Okay,
Dave.
I put some book references out there before, so we'll make sure that we post it again. Because I sent them in an email to Uncle Mick, and
Yes,
we'll
you
make
did.
sure we post them again, and then we'll probably add some more. But so here's the thing. So now, what was going on in Greek society? You was having orgies, you sleeping with kids, you doing all of this other stuff, you sleeping with other people's wives. The movie Caligula comes from that.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
You see that
Yeah,
movie?
That
Right.
was rough.
That was rough. And it was like everybody, literally every character in there, they didn't have no clothes on the whole 3 hours of the movie. And y'all want to talk about it's a masterpiece. You're just telling people what y'all was doing.
Yeah, remember he slept with his sister.
He slept with his sister. He slept. Even what is the one? There's one story in Greek philosophy that Oedipus, who sleep with his mother.
Mm.
He sleeps with his mother. And they call it the Oedipus complex. And you kind of sort of see that now with how sometimes moms love their sons the way that they love their sons. Almost, oh, that's my baby. He 90-something years old. He ain't your baby. He ain't been your baby since toddler and diapers. Stop doing that.
Mm.
That's the same thing. It's the Oedipus complex.
Mm.
But then when in this story, when he finds out he slept with his mother, he killed himself.
Mm. I mean, when you look at some of these stories that you say, well, this explains today.
Absolutely. You get it. You got it. So therefore, if you look at the history of the people, you have to go back. So even if you look at how they call the Colosseum, where they play the Rose Bowl, that comes from Greek ideology.
Yeah, that's the Colosseum. When you look at, if you look at a lot of this stuff that's going on, it's just redid.
That's all it is.
It's just redid.
It's redone over and over and over again. Okay.
Oh yeah, this we're gonna run into something that
and it's fine.
Yeah,
but I want you to go research it for real too. Don't tell me how to research it and you don't research it.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have commandments. Commandments came before him. So anyway.
Right.
But hey, we appreciate your any way we can help, we can help.
Right.
And I don't care nothing about what people's isms. It's about helping.
Right.
That's it. So.
Yeah, you don't get, but you do post a study and you can go see these things.
Yeah, absolutely. So just go study.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm not talking about just studying one book. Right. And that's all. As a matter of fact, I forgot to bring that other book in, and I looked at it last night, and I meant to grab it. The Lost Books of the Bible and Forgotten Books of Eden. So, which another 66 books that were taken out of the Bible and only given 66 books. But anyway.
Yeah, but this is why, as you can see, really to me, when you had, what was his name at the time, Augustus.
Yes,
Augustus
Caesar, right.
Yeah, when he came in, like people don't want to hear that aspect when you say, hey, when he went to sleep, he had a dream of the cross.
Right.
Because Rome was losing its power at the time. Like most people, you're not going to be able to just come winning with your military all the time.
No.
Rome needed, because many empires come and go.
But that's a cycle of things all the time.
Facts.
Nothing is gonna. The Japanese and the rising sun. That's not gonna. They were in power for a time. And it was when England became a power. United States is an extension of England. I don't care what nobody says. This weekend after they did this, and there was there was a clip of the burial ceremony for the Pope that just passed, and they were all dressed in African-looking garb with lamps lighting the way towards his last place of rest. And if they show a picture of him in his casket, and he's got the double crown, just like in ancient Kemet, because it's where they copied it from.
Facts.
And he's buried with his left foot forward, which is a position of power. And across his chest is the crook and the flail. That's ancient Kemetic. The same crook and the flail that, since we want to reference Jesus, that they talk about Jesus had as the shepherd. Come on. The symbolism is ancient Kemetic. That's all it is.
And you know what? Ancient Kemetic science.
It's a science. It is not witchcraft. It's a science.
Right. But when you don't know, you don't know.
Right. And when people get stuck in, and it's wonderful to have the beliefs that people have. I'm not knocking that.
Right.
But until, and I'm not challenging that either. If that works for people, that works for people. But people have been studying the stars for millions of years because those are help tell the stories.
Right. But this the
See, these are not new stories. These are ancient stories that have been handed down since humanity started. So the stars tell a story. The constellations are there, even though the Greek gives a different view of them. But if you have a 25,000-year-old calendar compared to whatever we got now, which one am I going to believe? Who do you think I want to talk to? You think I want to talk to your mother, your grandmother, or your great-grandmother to talk about you? If I wanted to talk to find out somebody about you, right? Who you think I want to talk to? Your mom, your grandmother, or your great-grandmother? Your great-grandmama gonna know your whole history and the history of your people. I don't want to talk to your mama know a little bit of stuff.
Right.
Your grandmama know a little bit more, but your great-grandma gonna know everything.
Oh no, they gonna go back because what they done seen, you ain't seen.
Man, so who you think I'm gonna talk to?
Yeah, you want to go talk to the root.
Right. So right now we only talking to the mother, right? Even in this. Right. But if you got to go back to how it comes in the first place to understand how this even makes sense.
Right. Right. No, you right on that. That's why when I see these people, I ain't gonna say people with me. When you go to church and I'm not knocking no pastors. I'm just giving my opinion. It's like when you telling them this, where you really supposed to be going to class. You should be coming out.
Oh, you gonna make me take my glasses off, bro.
I'm just saying you should be going to a class, because like a lot of time when you see these preachers preaching, right? Was Jesus in the church? What was Jesus at?
He was outside. He was never in the building. He was never in the building. He was fighting against all of this other stuff that was wrong with society that people were following because another group of people were imposing their ideology on everybody else.
Right. Well, let me answer this. This is a good one. Okay, Marcus Field, the most dangerous weapon against all the empires and government, past and present, is independent thinkers.
Absolutely.
And this might be a good one right here. Let me get this one for you, bro.
Absolutely.
This from Edward Barber. Most black people don't even know what race they are from. I mean, they are or from. This is why they call themselves after the color black. What is black? Color black. What race is the color black?
But first and foremost, black people didn't come up with the concept of race. That was done by an Italian in the 1700s. I can't remember. Hey, Mel Alafia, how you doing? That was done by this Italian so-called scientist because he followed the same thing that Darwin followed.
Right.
And he was before Darwin, so that's where they get the whole classification comes from. Classification of races come from European people, not African people. We just were. We always have been.
I think probably what when that came out with "We Black and I'm Proud," I think that was just really giving the people an identification.
Yeah, absolutely.
Far as here,
right?
Because you got to really understand. See, I think a lot of times, so how far we are from, we so far from Africa. I'm just saying us
right.
as a people. When you go back looking at our bloodline, yeah, we gonna come back from Africa. But if you go look, you got to think, we got so far from over there, yeah, we lost because we got a name like mine's, Mickey, or last name Jordan. We know most of our names came from the plantation owners.
Absolutely. But we have to remember this, right?
Right.
From 1808 to 1863, you no longer brought in any people.
Right.
You claim that you're going to do this out of the sanctity and humanity of ending the slave trade.
Right.
But in reality, you didn't end anything. Now you can control a narrative. Now if you no longer important African people over here that now know, we heard about what happened in Haiti,
right.
Haiti, and so now it's on the continent. So now we're fighting invaders even more, and we can't let that happen here in this country, right? Because now what you do? You tighten up the laws.
Right.
Okay? You make the fugitive slaves laws and all these other laws, and now what do? So now, if I don't let any outside influences come in, I can now control the narrative. But what you forgot, you had people like Denmark Vesey, Nat Turner, Gabriel Prosser, David Walker, Martin Delaney, who are still saying we're going to keep this because the spirit of Africa is within us, regardless of what they've done. That's the reason why we still here. So they're continuing to do any and everything to continue to destroy that, right?
Right.
So even the creation of the prison system
Mm-hmm.
was about imprisoning a group of people that you want to get rid of.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't send us back over to Africa because we felt, oh, we built this country. We were forced to build this country. We didn't do it willingly.
Mm-hmm.
So why not go back home? Dr. Theophil Obenga, one of my teachers, and he's still alive so far. He's probably in his late 80s. He was like, look, we waiting for y'all to come home. But you can't come home acting like you're a European. And I understand that. A couple of times I did get an opportunity to go home. They didn't know what I was until I started to speak. Oh, you're from America. I said, no, I'm not. This is my home.
Yeah, but see, on this, I'm gonna say this too because I seen a lot of countries over there is still, you know what I'm saying, westernized.
Don't forget about colonialism.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I meant to say.
Right.
Still colonial going on, man.
Yeah.
Because I'm looking at now some of these beautiful people that's over there, like they in the skin bleaching now.
Yeah. Why? Because that's my same model thing here.
Right.
Right. Now we're gonna have two different discussions on this real quick.
Go ahead.
Okay. But if your ideal look is this European person, you've been brainwashed too.
Right. Yeah,
You've been brainwashed too. I mean, beautiful dark. Oh my God,
man,
bro.
Beautiful.
What?
Beautiful women.
That's all I'm
over
gonna
there.
say. And we have beautiful women here too.
Yes, sir.
We do. We have beautiful women. So women, I love y'all.
Yeah.
Y'all are beautiful. You are. But you just got to get your head together. You got to understand who you are, whose you are, and what role that you play. We're not your enemy. You're not our enemy. We're supposed to be fighting for the same thing for each other so that we can set a better tomorrow for our children, right? Mm-hmm. There's a philosophy that comes from the Yoruba people that says young palm fronds grow higher than old palm fronds, but the old palm fronds set the foundation. So it's like any plant, right? The new leaves and stems come from the older ones. Mm-hmm. But the foundation is the larger stem. Mm-hmm. So the new branches that come out of it grow higher than the ones that started at the beginning. And they're supposed to. Mm-hmm. But they set the old ones set the foundation for the new ones to grow. Mm-hmm. So what we're doing is we're allowing our lives to be led by a lack of study, mm-hmm. by a lack of knowledge of self, by a lack of love for each other. And even if we can have a conflict, but that don't stop you from being my brother. Mm-hmm. We can have a conflict, that don't stop you from being my sister. Even if I disagree with what Mr. Barber said, I don't know who he is, but that's still my brother. He on the show.
Yeah. Let me see what Deborah Luna said. I thought a lot of colony cut ties with England when the Queen died.
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. Why do you think every once in a while, if there's some news that happens in England, you hear about it? Why do you think that Princess Diana's death was on, and people, but you don't even know her and you crying? Anytime something happens in England, it's world news. No, it's not. That's your mama's news. We're going to let y'all know we still attached to our mama. We still breastfeeding off our mama. Excuse me if that offends somebody, but that's what it is.
No.
So why should we not be attached for where we come from? We may not know directly and exactly where we come from. Mm-hmm. Oh, well, see, you connected because your mom is British. But that's a different connection. Now you messed my whole argument up with that. No, but United States of America, through the colonies, even though they quote unquote fought for their independence, it's still connected and will forever be.
No, when you go look, why you think when they say blue bloods,
right?
Well, you know what the blue bloods come from, because they them are in it. Why you think they so intertwined?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Britain and America, they intertwine.
Right. So because if you started your new home, mm-hmm. quote unquote, mm-hmm. with people from England, why would you still not be intertwined?
Right.
Still gonna be.
Yeah.
You still gonna be, and you're gonna be intertwined forever because we gave birth. We gave birth to America,
Right.
regardless of the Revolutionary War and all this other stuff.
Right.
We gave birth to y'all.
Right.
And we still send people over there. Okay, we got people that come over there, and then the other immigrations were Irish. That people they didn't get along with England, and you got more Protestants and Catholics and Lutherans coming over here because they follow Martin Luther, and you started all the church. So who they connected to?
Right.
Connected to England
Right.
and the Church of England, because that's where they come out of.
Mm-hmm. Even with your King James Bible.
Right. That comes from out of that comes from England. That doesn't come from anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason why it comes from England is because at that point in time, a lot of what happened with African societies, or Kibalian societies, have been destroyed by who? The Hyksos, the missions and missionaries that went over there to not to help people, but to destroy.
Now, when you go in and look, and when they, even when you listen to them crusades,
To destroy.
Yeah, them crusades wouldn't it wouldn't have benefited the people that they was coming over there with.
No, they came over there. You either take this or you die. And
Right.
they come for any group.
Right.
That was any group. The Crusades,
Right.
the Conquistadors, all of them. They came over there. Either you're going to take this book or you die.
Right.
Period. And the missions were the very first people that were sent out there. The very first people that were sent out there was to go and investigate how we could get in. They were not going out there to help people learn something new or help build the roads like we was talking about before, or help this or help that. No, we want to change how you think and how you operate. That's the same thing that happened from 1808 to 1863, 1865, even now. If we control what you think, feel, do, believe, then we can control the population.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what's happened.
Right. That's why you can, you know what I'm saying, you can see so many people and I get it, you know what I'm saying? It's just that when you seeing what's going on, it's just hard you know what I'm saying? Even when you just going back when these people saying they believe in God and you seeing things that the rules in the court system, the rules in housing, the rules with the food, like you were saying, just to go back a little earlier, what you were saying, don't you know what they serving in the richer part of you know what I'm saying, grocery stores, what they getting is different than the meat we getting in the, you know what I'm saying, in the urban communities where it's a little less fortunate at.
Right. Well, but you have to, that was, even when they so-called granted freedom to African people, and they that were prisoners of war.
Good morning, Lawanna.
And good morning, sis. How you doing? Glad you're here. And when they granted so-called rights, they ended up paying the plantation owners. Yet the people that were prisoners of war had to figure it out.
Right.
So how was that right and fair?
Right.
In a so-called righteous country, a country that bases its ideology on being a righteous place, and it's not.
Right.
Because it's a group we formerly owned you, so we don't have to treat you no way. So we're gonna treat you any way we want to.
And I know I was gonna ask you this question anyway because I was gonna let it slide up. There's been so many good debates. Yeah, I seen it was an excellent movie, Sinners. Did you check it out, Brother Elliott?
No, not yet.
Go see Sinners, man.
Okay, I'm gonna go check it out.
Please go check it out. He dropped so many jewels in there. Ryan Coogler dropped so many jewels in there, man. It's unbelievable. But I gotta ask you this, and I'm not trying to go off, but it's into what you talking about. How did you feel about Deion's son?
Oh, that was straight racism. That was straight. Here's a man that supports his son. That no scandals, no this, no that, no the other, and they wanted to punish him. So they couldn't punish Deion because he came at a time when he was needed in the NFL, right? Mm-hmm. He came at a time when he was needed in the NFL because you just like you needed Michael Jordan in the NBA. and you needed Magic and Bird in the NBA. You need Dr. J in the NBA. You also needed right. See, but what did Archie Manning do?
But I'm gonna go back one better than y'all that y'all forgetting
Oh,
about.
look who's here.
Who?
My sister.
Oh, the sister Taliba.
Yeah.
The I'm gonna tell you, she's fire. But
Man, I know. Look, that's my sister. Her husband's my brother. I'm gonna need you to get on the show with me one day. I don't care.
I believe you can get her on here.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to talk to her husband though.
For sure.
Look, I'm messing with her. I'm gonna have to talk to her husband if he'll give her permission to come and be on the show with me. So I'm gonna have to go buy some food to see if he'll let her get on the show with me.
For sure. But I got one that y'all slipping on. People don't remember this name. Jack Elway. John's father.
John's father.
And you know what he said? His son to go play baseball
before he go play for some other team.
Right.
Yes.
But see what that is, it showed them because I've been watching everything. Like, I've been seeing, I gotta go watch my blacks to see how they doing it. You know who been fighting harder, man, on the because the Negroes been tap dancing on ESPN and sports. I mean,
they have to.
You know who really been putting up the bigger fight? The whites. Oh. Them was the ones who was talking. They weren't
gonna be touched though.
I know, but they was the ones who I seen really calling a spade a spade. Right. The brothers was up there tap dancing.
Why? Because you can fire me. Look at what they've done to such other to get rid of him. They're not really gonna get rid of Stephen A. because he a loudmouth, right? Yeah. He a loud. No, I'm not saying he not on point with what he talking about, but he a loudmouth and he whatever. Right. But what they're not going to do is they're not going to the more quieter ones like. The Ryan Clark that's got his own podcast, The Pivot. I love that show, right? They got their podcast called The Pivot. On point. Facts. And they're former athletes, and they really telling people how this get down, right? And they bring on everybody.
Facts.
It don't matter to him what you say. Like, if you say I'm fired, I just go back over here and keep doing what we're doing over here full time, right? Mm-hmm. But to other people, you're trying to be politically correct and walk a line because they could fire me. Mm-hmm. But if you speak in truth, you got every team. I think there's one. Is there one black owner or partial owner? I think the Dolphins might have Serena and Venus Williams.
But you know what them type of deals.
But the other part about that is these are all owned by white folks.
Right.
Rich billionaire people who make people pay millions of dollars so they can pay them. And you can come and watch these people play in my arenas like gladiators.
Right.
It's no different. Mm-hmm. That's the reason why the Rose Bowl is called the Coliseum. They tearing down and building new arenas, but they ain't going to tear that down. That's a reminder of things in the past. Not just the Rose Bowl,
right?
But our attachment to Roman ideology and Greek ideology.
Right. And this what I wanted to bring up. See, people, I don't know if people be paying attention to a lot of the stuff. See, I was watching how they was trying to highlight it, and I am gonna speak on what Mark said. I for you. He said I feel a way about Shador also. Shador ain't broke. He got $5 million already. People with $5 million ain't coming in the door begging, not ever. That young man is well grounded. They don't like it. And me and my cousin had a conversation this morning because our sports show was coming, and it's going to be real. What they didn't want to talk about, see, this the thing where I get frustrated with it, and these are our black athletes. Did you see people didn't peep out Cam Ward and Shador when they was having their conversations going back and forth wherever they was at. When Cam, Shador was asking him like, man, what you got besides that? He said, I'm a football player.
Yeah, right. That's it.
See, that conversation let me know where his mind is at. Right. Shador, see, the NFL want to hear these sad stories, your mother was on drugs, this, they came from that bad. Shador didn't come from that.
Right.
He came from,
my dad is this, my mom is this.
And he wasn't broke.
And we weren't broke, and we were well raised.
Right.
Well, we didn't come from a drug-infested neighborhood. My daddy raised us right. Our mom was in our life, and she raised us right. So that's not a sob story that they want to hear. They don't want to hear that.
And then they get mad. And let me even go deeper with this. They got mad at LeBron James about his son.
Right.
When he got his son drafted. Show me who ain't did. But see, when blacks do it, it become a problem.
Right.
Wasn't nobody saying that. I could tell you some what's the name, son? What's my man's son? That he got to be a coach, but his daddy played for the Boston Celtics. He was the center. Walton.
Oh, Bill Walton.
Yeah, his
So how
son
did
got
son
to
become a coach and he was a horrible player?
man, he made it to the league.
All because of Bill's name.
And then they want to talk about LeBron. I can't think, what about the Berries? All the Berries wasn't good,
Right.
but the worst one got to get in.
Right.
You got people in the NBA right now getting to play 30 minutes, averaging 3 points.
Right.
Let LeBron James' son let LeBron get to play 30 minutes. You got people in the NBA averaging 1 point, making millions. But what they would say is they will get mad if we do. You know how many fathers, you know what I'm saying, that negotiate, did things that was in the league. What's wrong with us getting our kids in there? Like,
because if we don't come from the broken part of the society in which they created, let me say that one more time for the people in the back that didn't hear me. We don't come from the broken part of society that they created.
Right.
Then you don't have a real success story because you were already set up.
Right. And that's what it is. They wanted them to come in there. I'm happy to be here. You know, this is all I got right here. You know what I'm saying? You did this and that for me. It was really the show, but what?
Okay, go back. Wait a minute.
Yeah.
Hold on. Who did that for you? Your who?
Oh,
Who did that for you? Oh, you let me come and be part of your team.
yeah. But people forget Donald Sterling. Okay. What was the dude that owned the Clippers?
Right.
Remember when that conversation? What did he say? I feed them. I clothe them.
Right.
See, people forget that. People forget that.
Right.
Like, that's how them owners feel. Why you think when Kaepernick took a knee, what it is, they don't want nobody that's going to buck the system. See, Shador coming in, his father already had a deal, got deals, endorsement deals. You know, in the NFL, a lot of them people don't have no deals.
And guess what I saw yesterday?
Talk to me.
He saw, as soon as he got drafted, they showed a commercial with him in it. So, draft, Cleveland Browns pick him.
Right.
2 minutes later, there's a commercial. Okay. A new one, I'm going to say it. Okay, since you put me out there. So now, if you don't bow down to your white father master,
right,
then we have a problem.
Right. That's
so
what
I'm glad you come on and let me play for you. So I was going to run up and down the field. I was going to be good.
Right.
Come on, bro.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You ain't supposed to stand up and be no man, don't know nothing like that. You're supposed to just be, so you can't, wait a minute. Yeah. Okay, if he go undrafted, he can walk on and play for anybody.
Yeah, Deion wasn't supposed to do what Jack Elway did. No. He wasn't supposed to do what Archie Manning did. You can't come in there and tell us. And to me, it was a collusion because I seen in them offices when they was, as they call them, the war rooms, it was blacks in there in them executive.
Well, so therefore, if you don't want to lose your position, what do you do?
Huh?
What did we talk about? What did we say it's called?
Right.
We're okay with our oppression.
Right.
We're satisfied with being oppressed. We're not going to say, hey, look, this other quarterback, we got Cam Moore, we got Shador Sanders, you got these other dudes that decent. Shador Sanders played in front of you and I could have played on the offensive line and did as well as them. And I'm 61. Right?
Right.
We could have played on them offensive lines and fake blocked and get run over and beat up and put on the stretcher.
Right.
The way he had to run around, scramble for his life for 28 games.
Man, this the first time I done sat up here, they talking about he wasn't mobile enough.
Hey, how stupid is that?
And I sat up here and watched Detroit Lions quarterback Goff ain't mobile enough.
Man, when Washington beat them, it's because they had a mobile quarterback. And a mobile quarterback was the other piece of the pie that beat them.
Right.
Because Goff he's a pocket passer. And if you put too much pressure on him, and it's my nephew, if he hears this, he going to fuss. If you put too much pressure on him, he going to fold and crumble.
Yeah. Let me give you, I got a better one for you. This is why I thought Brett Holmes was on drugs. And I'll say it again, allegedly. I'm just saying, as far as his drafting. Do you know he drafted Hendon Hooker from Tennessee? Hendon Hooker would have been a top 5 pick if he didn't blow his knee out.
Right.
Now, I didn't hear this much when they drafted him. Oh, he's 25, but he was finna turn 26 the year he got drafted.
Right.
They went and drafted an injured guy that's 26 years old, that'll be 27.
Right. Then they did.
The Saints did this.
Yep. Yeah.
They went and drafted, but they didn't say nothing about his age, all them injuries that he had. But y'all went and drafted him. You mean even with a lot of people sleeping on Shiloh. Shiloh went in the 7th round, Deion's son.
Yep.
Man, he was better than that. Now I believe he was a 3rd rounder, the cornerback.
Right.
This how they played with him, man.
Yep.
This is what's crazy with the politics, but what that was to Deion, it should have been a wake-up call now.
No, right, because here's the other part. I think that there were seven or 9 players drafted from Colorado. So they were decent enough to at least get an opportunity, right?
Yeah.
And no trouble off field.
Right.
You ain't got no Baker Mayfield drunk and disorderly.
None of that.
You ain't got no Johnny Manziel drunk and disorderly and doing stupid stuff.
None of that.
Get suspended. Then he come to the NFL, make all of that money, and it's trash.
Facts.
This is the Baker Mayfield 2nd or 3rd team being with Tampa Bay.
He got 8 years to get it right.
That's what I'm saying.
He 8 years till he finally got it together.
Yeah, and so he went. I don't remember where he went to before, but like right now, I don't know if I want to watch pro football.
He was at Cleveland. Oh man, that's how I was. He was at Cleveland.
He was at Cleveland before he went to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Okay,
But he got 8 years to get it right.
right. And Manziel went to the CFL and whatever else, and he may be playing USFL ball or whatever now. But he was trash. Even then, he had one good season where he came out of Texas A&M and nobody knew. But then when they scouted him the next year, all his numbers went down.
But see, you know, they don't
Because he
talk
was like
about
Doug
that.
Flutie. You know what I'm saying? You remember Doug Flutie was a mobile quarterback from Boston College. He could throw the ball.
Yeah.
He had to go to
Look how they did. I'm like Todd Marinovich. I remember him at USC.
Todd was horrible.
Man, listen, they thought Todd, he was out there playing with a damn super team. Them USC teams, they had some boys out there.
Right. But before a better, not that Doug Williams isn't a great story. It is.
Yeah.
Warren Moon. You do a Warren Moon. He had to go to USFL. We don't want no
Canada
black colleges.
League, yeah.
And he threw for 50,000 yards in the USFL.
Yeah.
Get drafted get to play for Houston Oilers, and he threw for another 40,000. He wore his arm out throwing the ball.
Look how they did. What's the one boy? And I couldn't stand him in college. Tim Tebow. They
gave him 2 highs. What was it, 1 or 2? They definitely gave him 2 national championships.
And really, he didn't win. But see, people keep forgetting that he was the backup quarterback when they won that first championship. Chris Leak was I can't think of the brother name, but he was the starting quarterback.
Right.
And then when they want to get off into that SEC stuff, man, I ain't gonna knock them. They was winning, but they didn't play the best teams every time.
No.
That's just like when Michigan in 04 won. And they talk about that championship, that was a half a championship. They split it with USC in 03.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? When LSU
LSU was a better team.
Yeah, but no, not that one. That's when Nick Saban was at LSU. When he won, he split it with USC, but Florida split it with somebody else. But them two teams should have played each other, man. Right. They didn't run into them Pete Carroll teams when he was winning.
No.
They didn't run into them.
No. Man.
Yeah, but I mean, like, but that's the problem when you don't, you know what I'm saying? And you was hearing he got to be humble. Why is every time we got to be humble?
No, right.
Like, I hated that. He got to be humble. Why is it always he got to be humble? Let's take his money. Man, you need to listen to some of these sports shows, man, when they be calling in. These people really show you that racism is alive and well.
No, it's not going to go anywhere until we make a decision for us that we're going to have our own best interests at heart. You know, if we continue to be comfortable in our oppression, it's never going to go anywhere. If we're going to continue to be, we're going to put people in in places in collusion with those persons that are in so-called power because they have money and influence or whatever. These same political action committees that take place even in sports as in government.
Right.
And if we're comfortable there, we're putting people there. And if we have people that are that have a platform that are not willing to call it out, we got the same thing.
But they don't want to have that. That's why you had this here, see. And I agree with you 1,000%. They had these strong conversations when you said Mark put you on front when you called it out.
He did.
But see, They don't want. See, I'm noticing people don't want these type of conversations. They want to have them feel good
You know,
stories.
everybody want to feel good.
Yeah,
See, and then you got this person saying, "Well, we're gonna close down the National Museum." I don't care if they close down every museum in the country.
facts.
I know this stuff. You know this stuff. Come and talk to us so you can learn. Go research it yourself so you
Right,
can learn. It ain't got to go to a museum to learn your history.
right,
Stop. We come. Oh, he's shutting this down. He's doing this. He's doing. If you complaining about teaching and your student ain't doing nothing but being taught how to learn how to take a test, and I bear witness to that.
right.
Then come over here so they can learn some real things about how to be thinkers in life and how to really make some things happen in life and how to do things in life where they can be persons that learn other stuff other than just what they've been told that they got to learn.
Right.
Other than that, you're in collusion with the system.
And this, what I know it was, I put this up for Marcus, the good brother Marcus Fielder, tapping in from Fairfield, California. He said one commentator had the nerve to say Shador should call each team and beg for a chance.
See,
see how crazy that is.
But see, that's white supremacy, though.
Yeah.
That's white supremacy. That's
Right.
white supremacy. Beg.
Right.
So you're gonna get on your knees and beg them for an opportunity. I'm not begging you for nothing.
Now you see how wicked that was.
Yeah.
They wanted. That's the same thing. The game that they played with Colin Kaepernick, because he had a thought. Police brutality. He spoke up out of a job.
Right. And I took a knee not out of not being patriotic.
Right.
It's not even what he said. It was because I'm protesting police brutality.
Right.
But the president at that time was saying he was being unpatriotic.
Right.
And he took a knee against the flag. They turned the narrative around and they used that to exclude him from the game.
Yeah,
and the owners was like, okay, well, we ain't touching him because we don't want it anyway.
Right. Man, they don't be understanding. These owners show them every time who they really are. You are entertainment to them. You are their money.
Malcolm said,
Yeah.
Malcolm and Colin Kaepernick was an example of what Malcolm said. Malcolm said that because you're entertainers and because they pay you, they'll put a microphone in front of you to be the mouthpiece for black people. So what can you really say? What can you really say?
Nothing.
You can't say anything because if they own you, because they say you sign a contract with them and they're paying you all of these thousands of millions of dollars, you have to shut your mouth and go along with the program.
Facts. Good morning, Kobe Fatty, a.k.a. Elizabeth P. Finney. She said, did y'all see the 3 college students that faked his draft before Cleveland? Well, you know that was going to happen. It was so many people that were so happy that he dropped down, but that just showed you where we at.
Yeah.
They was, but who was more happy? Let's really call a spade a spade. Who was really happy that Shador went down slid to the 5th round?
White people.
Okay, and you had the Deion haters, a couple
Right.
of the Uncle Tom. The sellouts wanted to be happy. They said, this is their dream for this to go down, man. And that's what is crazy. You know how many times we didn't root it for certain, you know what I'm saying? But we the only ones that accept this.
Yeah.
We the only ones that accept this.
Because we would still want to be part of that society.
Right.
And I told you, I think I remember the one brother that I follow. He said, as long as we have the money to be decadent,
Right.
that's what we desire.
Right.
We have the money to be decadent, but if you have the money to be decadent, but I refuse to be decadent and uncontrolled,
Right.
that part of society, and I think somebody just mentioned this before, that part of society, you don't want me to be part of that society.
Right.
You want me to be the part of society that I'll just answer yes or no because I need to work or I need that. Absolutely, corporate America's a plantation system. It's the reason why you work at a plant. Okay.
Right.
And understand all of the stuff that we're talking about before, all of this falls in line. Right? All of this falls in line. So, if long as you're bucking the system, it's it's not okay. Mm-hmm. That's the one that I'm gonna lynch.
Right.
So this is once again a public lynching.
Right.
The difference is they didn't put a rope around them. They did. They put a rope of money around them.
Right.
around his neck. Right? So now what he's got to do is he's got to go out there and put in the work that he's always has,
Ain't gonna do.
okay? And he's not going to give them an excuse to cut him, which they're probably going to try.
Facts.
But if he goes in and puts the work in and becomes the quarterback that he has been, right? So this is working with Tom Brady. And I
Right.
think Tom Brady with the Raiders said don't draft him. I'm not sure. I got to check and make sure that that's right. But he was working with Tom Brady,
But that's how you know it was a conclusion.
right?
That was the sound thing. Like, no, don't nobody draft him because who got him in the end anyway?
Right.
Cleveland. Right. Pittsburgh. When I knew Pittsburgh at 21, that's what I'm saying. The black head coach. They was acting like, and they said they didn't want Deion. They didn't want Deion. You know, Deion is the head coach of the Colorado Buffaloes.
Right. He never said nothing about taking over nobody's
Yeah,
head.
how he gonna come over there? Deion not the owner of the Cleveland Browns. They've been picking bad head coaches for you know how many years?
Man, forever.
So you know what I'm saying? Deion wasn't coming over there to mess nothing up.
Right.
This just show you the stuff that they do. This is how they go to justifying what they did.
Right. Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Now he not in no problems, not hearing about him going to jail, not hearing, you know what I'm saying?
He ain't got no children out of wedlock. He ain't got
none of this. And his father ain't been nothing but an upstanding role model. Right. So what's really the problem? Because Deion tried to, show, listen, I'm going to be like Jake Elway was, like Archie Manning was. I'm going to protect my boys. Not just him he protected, he was also protecting Travis Hunter and all of those
other people coming off the
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, facts, Marcus. But the ones that was in there, you know they ain't got no say so. He said, "Did y'all check out the war rooms of each NFL team? Not too many of us was in them.
No,
in the
you're not going to be privy to continue unless you collaborate with the owners and in many different ways. You're not going to be in a position to make decisions like that.
Right. For sure, Tony Terry. Thanks for tapping in. But that's when you don't own it. That goes back to when they got rid of when we I ain't gonna say we, but the ancestors when they had the Negro League. They don't understand the Negro League was way better than MLB.
Way better.
More people were. Where do you think they got it from? But they always take what we had. But we got to learn how to start building our own, man. You won't have these problems.
I don't think that we'll ever get to that point where we start building our own because we're not serious about it.
Facts.
We're not serious about because they make their ice. What do you say? They make their ice look colder.
Sure do.
So we're not serious about building our own. We're not serious about rebuilding our communities. We're not serious about collaborating with people who do certain things. We're not serious about it.
Facts.
We're not serious about that. If we were serious about it, we would have been doing it. It ain't like we ain't got the resources because 99% of the time we work for somebody else. And if we work for somebody else, we could take part of that money and put it in a business.
We workers now. We worker bees.
Yeah.
We are worker bees.
Right.
If you go look at the people back then to now, man, they had, even though they worked, don't get me wrong, ain't nothing wrong with a job. I really think it, but we wanted to build some. What do you see people building something that here at?
Nothing. We're not gonna build anything.
Even down to this.
Because, this is a platform.
Yeah.
And it needs to be in a building.
Yeah.
Which not that it's not in a building, but it needs to be in its own entity.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And as an educator, if people were serious about education or really truly educating their children instead of talking about getting them prepared for a test, which is all that we're really doing, then they would say, hey, look, Brother Elliott, how much do we need to gather up a year in order for us to be able to have our own place? And you and a group of people that you know are going to teach them and teach us too.
See?
Crickets and tumbleweed.
Yeah.
Because people are not serious about doing that.
But we supposed to be, and they see that you come on every Sunday, and you can catch him when he really has something going on. He'll come on even through the weekday. You done told them this plenty of times. But has they been blowing up your phone?
Oh no, people ain't people because people not serious. They come and I'm thankful and grateful that you all are here and you're eating a little bit this morning with your breakfast. I'm grateful, but at the same time,
Hmm.
we need to be doing something bigger and better. Because what kind of legacy do we leave moving forward?
Facts.
What kind of legacy do we leave? We don't
Facts.
leave. We don't leave a legacy. You know, it's almost like once people are gone, they're gone, and their
Right.
legacy is forgotten
Right.
until times of crisis.
Right. Right.
You can't call a warrior to the door when the war starts. The war
Right.
been going on,
Right.
and people just because the war looks different because we let a few people in.
Right.
That's our piece of pie. But you
Right.
let only a few people in, not everybody. If the playing field was level, we'd be in charge of everything.
Right.
But they're not. They're not. Their job is, again, the hyena and the lion not ever gonna live together. They're not gonna live together.
Right.
The lion is gonna kill the hyena because the hyena is a threat.
Right.
So here we killing you, but we killing you in multiple different ways.
Right. This is a good one right here. Sports and society decisions go hand in hand. Jesse Owens embarrassing Hitler comes back to the U.S. He's in court for tax evasion.
Right.
Yeah, but that goes back to where even they was fighting to show you how it was doing. What was it, World War II? They was
Yeah,
fighting.
World War One and World War
Okay,
Two. Right.
when you go look at it, guess what the German soldiers got to eat at?
Right.
What did the black soldiers get to eat at?
Okay. Hey, guess who gave the cars over to Germany?
Yeah. You know what I'm
Y'all
saying?
down in Detroit driving around in them Fords. Henry Ford was sending cars over to Germany for them to be able to ride in.
That's what I'm trying to see. People
But once
don't.
again, we're not studying anything and we're not doing the research.
Right.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that we should that everybody, but everybody should be. I'm cool with having the situations and the things and the thoughts where you know what I just got to have a break in my head. I don't want to study this stuff all the time. That's not how I'm wired. I can't be wired that way. We always have to study because at this particular point in time, that studying, and where did I put the arsenal? Oh, here it is. Studying is my way of relaxing. Studying is my way of being able to teach.
Right. But see, I think in our society, in our culture, let me say our culture, we so looking for help, but not looking for each other for help.
Right.
Because we have, but it's been ingrained in us. See, this right here, what we going through ain't just start yesterday.
No.
This been going on.
Right. Yeah.
Well, we don't trust each other because we did so much dirt to each other. Like with Flint, it's a trust issue, even with the water.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So where does that go back to? Didn't we talk about the Willie Lynch letter in the system?
Facts.
So if we even study that, if we just studied that particular document, if we just studied the Willie Lynch letter,
right,
and go like, I'm going to look at myself,
right,
I'm going to look at then my family, and I'm going to start to say, I'm going to address these things in my family with us, with me first, and then with the rest of us, and my wife and my children, and all these other things. And if we can start sitting there talking about, oh, your background is off the chain with the library, I got it.
Yeah, I got you. I'm gonna have you all together.
I know, baby. I know.
For sure.
I got to throw a little light.
Oh, for sure. Love it, love it, love it.
Okay. If we start with that first,
right,
and then allow it to spread out to our friends who are supposed to be our friends, and I'm not talking about people in the family,
right,
and I'm not talking about people that just come over when you have an event,
right,
and they come to eat and drink, and then they going about your way, but people that you can actually have discussions with, and then you can start to broaden their horizon and broaden their circle, even if it stays small and in pockets. Then eventually, if they start to teach their children as well, then eventually what happens is we begin to recognize how the system operates, and we begin to do something different in the system because we're forced to, if we're using our righteous spiritual selves,
right,
to say, you know what, this is wrong.
Right.
Well, I can't sit around and talk about, hey, sis, you know what? I know it's hot, and I know you're trying to show off, but I think that that's a bit inappropriate for you to wear. And
Right.
don't get offended.
Right.
And don't get offended.
Right.
But people want to say people can do what they want to, wear what they want to, and it should be okay.
Facts.
But at what point in time do we start to protect each other? And we don't. Because if we say, oh, you can do what you want to, I'm living here, I can do what I want to, and then when something horrible happens, we want to know, well, where are the people that's protecting me at?
Right.
But you removed your protection
Right.
when you allowed this system to separate us as men and women, as African men or Al-Kibalanian men or prisoners of war in this country, and separate the men and the women and who you have to answer to.
Right.
If we're not looking to answer to each other, and if I'm not willing to allow somebody to correct me, in my classroom, if I make a mistake on the board, right, because I'm rushing, because there's a thought in my head, my children correct it. Why would I get mad when that's what I expect them to do?
But that means you taught them good to catch the incorrection.
Right. But yet we don't want to do that with each other.
Oh, no, you can't do that because we so caught up in our own desire. I think it's a lot of desires that they want.
It's low level. We talked about this before.
Facts.
We looked at the statue that's got Haru and Set, and then one in the middle was Thutmose the Third, or
Facts.
Amenhotep the First, right? The higher self versus the lower self.
Right.
Right? If my lower self says you can't say anything to me for correction, and then we either that or you're going to fight or I'm going to shoot or whatever, or I'm going to cause a conflict or an issue.
Right.
But the higher self says I can accept correction. So then that what the correction does is allows me to become higher in myself because the correction is right and righteous. Well, we had this infantile lower level stuff.
Right. Right. That's why you, and I hate to bring this one up with you, but what you think about Uncle Shay Shay?
I mean, I don't allow. Cat Williams told him he was on the setup.
Right.
First of all.
Right.
And then once again, that goes back to what the Muslim brother said. That when people get money, they like to live decadent lifestyle.
Facts.
He got caught.
Yeah. Right.
He got caught. But it wasn't, the thing is like, you're not in a position, unfortunately,
Facts.
when you start making that type of money to be able to do anything that you can't know that you're not gonna get caught. Right?
Right.
So they don't care about me. They consider a low level teacher, professor, whatever.
Right.
They don't care nothing about me. But my influence and sphere of influence is very small.
Right.
Even though I know it's not.
Right.
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 But when you get a platform like that where you're getting certain things and you get 1 million views on this one and this particular platform because this person says this and other people are still saying things and this and that and other, you keep on bringing people on and you're having these bigger, well, eventually what they're going to do, excuse me, you all, somebody must want to see me. Old folks say when you're nosy, somebody never see you. So I don't know who you are, so slow down. Let me finish first because this itchy nose thing is weird.
Okay. For sure. You got mine's itching now.
No, see, he got his over here.
You made mine's itching. I wasn't.
Well, somebody want to see us. Hopefully they got some money.
Facts.
If you want to see us have some big money so we can do some things.
We got things on the flow.
Man, what? So when you make those decisions and make those moves because you feel that you're above that, right? Then what they're going to do is they're going to pull a plug on you. So now you have to go back and you have to make all these excuses for what you've done. And then you're talking about no different than what Michael did. They wanted to claim that he was guilty because, look, I just want to pay him off to keep him so they'll shut up.
Facts.
And this is what he's doing, but they trying to hang him out there to dry anyway. You know, Michael Jackson's like, look, I've got billions of dollars. I got business deals on the floor. And y'all coming up with this foolishness, which you know is not true.
Facts.
Which they proved later on it wasn't true.
Right.
But they killed him.
Yeah.
So after that he's dead, then what difference do it make?
But that's the system. That
Okay,
goes back
okay,
to yeah,
okay.
yeah.
So
That
then,
right,
therefore, so
right,
when we had Cadillac Records and Stack
right.
and Motown before
Fact,
Berry Gordy sold it out to whoever he sold it out to,
fact.
when we had all of our own stuff, why are we dealing with these other people?
That's the point I was finna say. Go back. I seen somebody in the chat said new one said Shay shit, but they was going back to what you said. Shay should have listened to Monique and Cat, but you know what they got him in, and you got to understand they waited till he got that 100 million when
That's
he
it.
was finna go negotiate.
Yep.
What comes on down? Cause they look at your vices. They
Right.
like, okay, we gonna find what he got a fetish for.
Let's see. Now, let's go back to
Let-
talking about leadership.
yes, sir.
Okay. They understood that Martin had certain vices and Malcolm didn't.
Right.
And Malcolm couldn't be broken.
Facts.
The only way they could break him was how they did.
Right.
Get rid of him.
Right.
That's the only way. He sent them women, didn't work. Sent them money, didn't work. Wanted to bribe him, didn't work. Bombed his house, all this stuff didn't work. Didn't stop Malcolm from
Right.
being Malcolm.
Right.
Martin, they had all kinds of stuff on Martin with his sexual stuff from when he was young and chasing women, and they knew all of that.
Right.
They used that to try and bribe him. Now, he was fortunate he didn't bend, but he
Right.
still had these vices.
Right.
And so, as men, we have to have a certain level of proclivity to not have those vices.
Facts.
Because you're not going to be a public figure, right?
Right.
And think you can, you're not going to go sneak nowhere.
Right.
You can go out the country.
Facts.
I'm just going to fly to Argentina. That's
Right.
your best bet.
Right.
Your best bet is to fly somewhere where nobody know who you are
Right.
and do your thing and then come back, clean up, and then come back and then proceed from there. Because if you do it anywhere where you're recognizable, especially in this day and age with the media and you putting stuff out there like that, then guess what?
And way people want to catch you up here.
They trying to catch you in anything.
Right.
Hey man, I saw brother Elliott over at she was like 21, 22. You can say that about me. I'm single. I don't give a damn.
Right.
But if I'm in situation or whatever,
Right.
and then, he was I don't do this, so I just want y'all to understand this is a joke, right?
Right.
Yeah, he was walking around in leather drawers. No, you didn't see that.
Right.
You didn't see that.
But that's what they do. But they know they have morality clauses. That's like ESPN. He's suspended for right now while he going through this, but he's still doing this Club Shay show. But see, that's the problem. They be knowing when they love this to happen. Look at Michigan State coach. First coach, the black coach got $80 million.
$80 million on the table.
And what'd he do?
And why would you mess around and somebody? There was a setup, bro.
And yeah, it was a setup.
It was a setup. I mean, they gonna talk about he was going through separation, and whatever, bro. You could have controlled yourself. You wasn't separated when y'all was divorced, and y'all was still staying in the same house. Look, babe, I'm gonna pay you,
Right.
$1,000 to sleep with you tonight. I know we ain't together or whatever. But you want to be dumb enough to mess with another person that's a public figure,
And
talking about what she's talking about?
right. And you didn't think she was gonna tell. And you was having these inappropriate conversations. But you see how easy it is a person can be. And she was supposed to be an advocate for this. But didn't nobody call her out. She
No, of
became
course
the
not.
victim. Because you
Well,
know why she was a victim?
Yeah. Oh, go ahead on, bro.
You know why she...
Let me
You know
say it.
why
You want
she...
me to say it?
Go ahead, brother.
She said it. She was the victim because she a white woman.
Okay.
That's now just like this little girl that he supposedly choked and said. Now, here's my thing about that. If
Mhm.
they're saying that he choked her or whatever, what did she agree to it?
FAB Queen Warrior, thanks for tapping in. Man, the stuff that people do in their bedroom, but see what this thing is, we gonna embarrass him. We gonna make him look bad. Like you say, if she agreed to this new stuff that these people doing is off the chain. But these is them fetishes, and they know he had a fetish.
Okay, so this is the same thing that the brother said, and I got to get you his name. I want you to check him out. That when people reach a certain, if everybody in this country had the type of money that they wanted to have, they would live a decadent life.
Facts.
And he did.
Yeah.
He wanted to live a decadent life. I grew up poor in Greenwood, Mississippi. And I don't, bro, you not there no more.
Did you hear like some of the stuff how they was living? It was unbelievable. They didn't have no indoor bath. They didn't have indoor plumbing. That's why he said he wouldn't let people come to his house. They had an outhouse to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, okay, so guess what?
Right.
It is what it is.
Facts.
You ground your way up out of that.
And they
now
did.
that means now you got to act like you done lost your mind and be on
Right.
some whole high, this low level decadent stuff. No, but I'm gonna still say this: if he was choking a girl, she obviously wanted him to do it.
Right. That's what good morning, Uncle Carl Lewis in the building. Facts. And I'm looking what Marcus Fielder said. He said, we long time Golden State Warrior fans. We still not happy how Mark Jackson was let go.
Come on, man. You know they wasn't going to have him as
Yeah.
a black head coach the way he coached.
But
go ahead, even though he set the team up, go ahead on and
But you know what it was, don't you?
what was that?
The owners were I want to say they was some of the owners were gay. If I'm not, I don't want to say it wrong. I think the owners are part of the LGBTQIA, and Mark Jackson is a Christian, and he into his beliefs. See, a lot of that stuff. See, people didn't understand that like it was little stuff behind the scenes.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And Mark probably was calling out. I don't have all, but that lifestyle, it wasn't conducive. See, he didn't like to live in the other life. Mark was really into his Christian belief.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
So that was one of the reasons why.
Some of it, allegedly,
okay.
yeah.
Allegedly, okay, I get it.
Yeah, Mark wasn't going along with the owners, you know what I'm saying, some of the lifestyle that they was living. You know what I'm saying? And that's what is crazy. Why would Shannon Sharp give that girl
19,
and gave her all
19.
that information? Like she said, Mark Hutchinson said that didn't make. She knew there was a lot of money coming her way. Shannon Sharp actually thought a 19-year-old was interested in him. Couldn't be a bigger fool. Facts. Yeah. But
this is where we're comfortable in our presence.
Facts.
And we can go ahead on and do whatever we want to do once we get paid.
Right.
And they keep showing you that we are in charge and we're going to do what we're going to lynch you. Whether it be a public lynching, they did Tiger Woods that way, they did any and everybody that they could that way.
Yeah, Tiger got, but you know what was Tiger? He didn't understand, but you know what, and I gotta say this. Okay, let me say, Marcus Fielder, yes, brother, yes, sir, brother Mickey. Where are the Warriors home games now? We love the Warriors in Oakland for sure. But you know what, I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna say this. I know people gonna get mad, but when I was watching the NFL draft, you know what I was looking at when they was going to a lot of these players. What's the names? They had white girlfriends.
Oh, yep.
I wasn't mad at it, but I was explaining this to my cousin when we were sitting up. I'm like, cuz a lot of these brothers go to these schools. Who you think they're gonna be around? If you're going to a Michigan, if you're going to an Alabama, if you're going to a Florida State, it's more of them on them colleges. That's like if you go to HBCU. 9 times out of 10, if it's you gonna probably date a black woman on there because that's who you around. It's more of them. Right. But if you go in here even you go look at these prep schools, what do you think these prep schools is that they sending these boys to these brothers to? The only reason you going there because you can hoop. Who you think you around?
Yeah, but that's done by design.
Okay.
So then at what point in time are we teaching our children that you should get somebody to look like your mother or your grandmother? You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we want to have this whole we're race neutral collusion. No, we're not. No, we're not. If they meet these women, and those women know that you have potential to make this type of money, guess what I'm in it for?
Right.
I'm taking care of my family.
Yeah, but
you.
And I'm not mad because I'm not mad at you on what you do, but you got to go look at some of these things, man.
No, they ain't got to look at none of that stuff. I could just go do what I want to.
Right.
Because the money is there for me to be able to do what I want to.
Right. That's even going back to the Kobe Bryant story. I mean, his thing, man, that
yeah.
hurt my soul like how his parents was did. But guess who he went
Brian's
to?
wife?
Yeah, but guess who went? You know, Kobe had fell out with his mother and father.
Yeah, over her.
Yeah, but because they was trying to tell him she was a little too young, like Kobe, take your time. But guess who Kobe went to get to get the okay? Jerry Buss.
Yeah.
What was the GM at that time? Look,
Jerry West was the GM
Jerry
at the
West.
time.
Guess who they went to? But
Yeah.
damn, but Kobe, look who, you know what I'm saying? I'm not knocking Kobe or nothing because the reason you knew the game from your daddy.
Your
Daddy showed you, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
He was pro. He took you with him. That's how you was able to be in the playoffs, got to meet these NBA players when you was young.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But when you and he was over there and like he was over in Italy, but man, when you over there, that's the only thing with us, what I do be like what I'm glad that my kids did go to a school with, they went to Carmen.
Right.
Predominantly black schools. Well, how we grew up going to them schools, man.
Right.
Because them be culture shocks, man, when you send your kids out into this thing.
Right. Yeah, because they don't understand or know how to act.
Yeah.
Right? So if you're not, number one, the schools are not going to teach anything to level for our young people. They're not.
Facts.
You have to find a way to slide it in there all the time.
Right.
And I do it all the time by saying we're going to work on this project and we're going to do it in that vein.
Mm-hmm.
Because I got young people. But when I had older people, when I had high schoolers, it was like, you got to get it this way because this is where it come from. But nobody's doing it at home.
Right.
And I'm not saying that it's not everybody. There might be a few people, but the majority of parents are not teaching them these things at home.
Right.
So then when they go out in the world, they go out there and they have culture shock because the whole idea is that everything's equal and everything's all you can date who you want to and be with who you want to.
Yeah.
But that's not the truth. That's not the truth.
Facts.
You're not dating somebody at their level when you got no money and they got money. They not dating you.
Facts.
But this all goes back to what we've been talking about, right?
Right.
The decadence of society because people believe that God is decadent so we could be decadent.
Yeah, I mean, I was definitely on was that Socrates Socrates when they was it Socrates when they was like, well, God can love men and women. Why?
That's
and they
what I'm
was
saying.
and they was
Right.
trying to justify that.
That's
I
my
remember
point.
studying.
That's Greek philosophy. That's Greek philosophy that comes out of either Hamilton's book, where Zeus could do what he wanted to. He was sleeping with everything, animals.
Yeah, I mean, like some of this stuff is.
Yeah, it's
beastie.
insane.
Yeah.
Once we start to learn about who we are,
Right.
that shows us how insane some of this stuff is, right?
Facts.
So you go like, man, their God can do all of this,
Right.
and you believe that?
Facts.
Meanwhile, our God says this. No. We can't do that. We can't do that. We can't live this way because we have this other level that says we have to choose between our higher self and lower self. They don't believe in that.
Facts.
If they don't believe that slavery, what Dick Gregory said, at one time slavery was legal.
Yeah.
At one time, Jim Crow was legal. James
Fact.
Crow. At one time, segregation was legal. So anything that they want to do is legal. If one of the reasons why it was okay for them to continue to treat African people the way that they did, or Alkebalanian people the way that they did, or prisoners of war the way that they did, as long as we don't believe that you're a human, I don't care.
Right.
And you're the first human. You're the oldest group of people on the planet. We come from the oldest group of people on the planet. And yet this other group of people, we follow them more than we follow where we come from?
And
That too is insanity.
we've been trained good.
Yo, absolutely.
When you know what I'm saying? When you can argue, you can sit up here and argue with a person. Listen, man, we can go back and forth. You can go out there. You see that sign when you coming in on 75 with Jesus right there on the sign.
Yep.
Going against what the book say.
Right.
But if you go in these churches, what color you gonna see
Oh,
in the
man.
books.
Red, white, and blue, baby.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, man, and I do like what you said, Marcus Fielder. He said Kobe took on the establishment lifestyle of disowning his parents. Barry Bonds had a problem with Bobby's drinking, but Barry never disowned his father.
Right.
See, but that's what it is when you see, man. When you as you get up to these places, man. When you get up there, man, you will take on they lifestyle.
You have to.
What they do, how they like
you
things.
have to.
You know what I'm saying?
Brother Malcolm said that if they put the microphone in your face, and Dave Chappelle was one of the few that walked away, and he came back to establish what he did after he walked away from his own show, and they wanted to turn him into something that he didn't want to be. So he walked away from the $50 million deal, went to Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, what's wrong with him? Because I wasn't going to do those things to degrade myself.
And people didn't understand that. And they was looking at Dave like he was crazy.
Yeah, but okay.
C-Wag, I'm finna help you out in 1 second, C-Wag. I'm gonna go and get you together. You know what? Take you 24 hours to get it together. Just put him in time out. Not finna go back with this. Not finna
So
do
what
this
was the
here.
point of it? We're not even talking about that. What are you talking about?
Yeah, like he
Follow
just
the
want-
discussion.
Yeah, like what we talking about.
Right. Follow what we're
C-Wag
talking
lost
about.
his
Nobody
mind.
coming in there asking you to talk about some other stuff. We'll talk about that another time when I want to talk about sundown times. That's not what we're talking about.
Oh, fact, Mark. Well, you know what I'm saying? I ain't gonna lie, Mark. When I came in my granny house, she had the Pope, the Black Jesus, and she had MLK picture up. That's
Yeah,
that.
but she had the Pope up first.
Yeah, I ain't gonna lie to you. She had the Pope. She had the Pope up, but she had Black Jesus,
Right.
and you know what I'm saying. And she had ML King. She had
Right.
that picture up. We had that. Like I came up and seen that. Cause I ain't gonna lie, my granny, man, she was Catholic.
Right. Okay.
If you go listen to some of I would go to running down my auntie names. They was, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
You would be like, oh wow, yes. But that's how a lot of blacks were into that. My granny lived to be 100 years old. Like she was born and knew before women had voting rights,
Right.
before cars. And like I said, her grandfather, her father was an Indian, and her mother was, you know what I'm saying, a foundational.
Okay.
You know, like my granny, you know. But I'm just saying. But when you and like I said, and was an Eastern Star. Let me go
Right.
put
on
that
the
out
side
there.
of that. She had to be African in there somewhere.
Yeah. Like I said, like some of the stuff that you see now, if you let her talk, man.
Oh boy, you got stories.
Like the stories that like how black, like you want to say that my uncle don't date white women. Not in her lifetime, they brought him in that house.
Man.
Because she seen what happened.
Right. And see, that's the thing that gets me sometimes is we forget.
Right.
We forget. Once we reach a certain level of whatever, we forget the atrocities that have happened that are documented.
Facts.
And then we go like, oh, they changed.
Yeah.
Huh? So Shannon Sharp is going through a public lynching.
Yep.
Shadura Sanders is going through a public lynching. Bill Cosby went through a public lynching, not because of what he did, but because what he desired to do.
Right. But we got to remember this. Remember, the quarterback position in the NFL was suited for who?
Yeah, it's white leadership.
I mean, you got to call a spade a spade.
Yeah. It's white leadership.
Yeah, that's why you think, oh, they can't think. You know what I'm saying? You know, they came up with everything. They fighting so hard, but this weekend, yesterday showed me that they had changed the rules.
Yeah. Well, look at what they even did this year. They didn't want Lamar Jackson to win a third MVP. They gave it to Josh Allen, and Josh Allen didn't have a good year.
But that show you the game. That's even when remember what was his name? And I liked him. Phoenix point guard Steve Nash. Remember
right.
He got them back-to-back MVPs.
Right. And
man.
And one was fine.
Yeah.
But the other one Shaq should have had.
Yeah. Because he earned that first. But that's what I'm saying. But to see they play games.
Well, but we're the ones who still playing in the game.
Yeah, but that show us. But They will stop you with you. Look at Ice Cube with the Big Three. Man, they don't understand how the NBA was trying to sabotage it, as far as his thing.
Right.
He
Right.
created something where retired players can get back in and make some money.
Make some money and pad their retirement because they may not have anything.
Because it's entertainment.
Right. It's entertainment. I have a nephew that plays football, basketball, whatever he does at Carmen, right?
Right.
And I just talked to his dad this weekend, a couple days ago.
Mm-hmm.
Today is Sunday, so it had to be Thursday, Friday. Talked to his dad a couple days ago. This boy, young man's got crazy scholarships on the table. Most of them for academics, right?
Facts.
So there was something that I read this morning or last couple days ago about people chasing a bag, and Prime Time said, "Don't chase the bag, chase greatness, because the bag will come."
True.
This boy got academic scholarships to Syracuse and a few other places, and I'm like, take the money when it's on the table, but you can demand what you want because there's far more. And I want y'all to tell y'all children this, right? Y'all children that play sports and y'all geeking them up to play sports and y'all want them to play sports and all this other stuff, right? So there's 10 million young men and young women that play high school basketball.
Mm-hmm.
You get 100,000 that get to go to D1 schools.
Mm-hmm.
You got 32 teams with 12 players, 12 to 15 players. That's 300 and something players that are possible to play pro sports.
Okay.
And you got probably 25 to 30 million dollars. No, it's more than that. 25 maybe. What is it, million or $1 billion? It's $1 million in athletic scholarships that are available for D1, D2 players. Academically, you're talking about $600 million. This young man already has a full, and I don't know all the details, I'm just going by what I think I know, a full 4-year ride to Syracuse. That's one of the colleges on the table. Academic-wise. He'll be a senior next year. And right now, he don't have to take no core courses that he took them all.
Facts.
And his GPA is above a 3.5. So what Coach Prime is saying is, if you're out there chasing money, money is elusive.
Facts.
But if you're chasing greatness and put the work in, the money's going to come. Chase being the highest GPA in class. Chase being the best reader in class. Chase being the best writer in class. Chase being the best mathematician. Chase having the highest GPA out of the school. Chase, your highest SAT, ACT scores, and Chase being great in who you are, and then the money's gonna come because people's gonna pay for your greatness.
That's why they gave Shadur so much problems, because you just see what Prime was saying,
right?
Chase, because you know what the NFL, what a sports career really is, lifetime. You're lucky if you get 10 years. You have to retire. You're gonna be living way longer than you're gonna be playing,
right?
Right. So why not get your book? You know what I'm saying? Have a career life after football.
Absolutely.
Because they don't tell them about that. Everybody, Shadur Sanders gonna have the charisma, but the game they might play, they might don't let him get in broadcasting because he got the charisma. He know how to talk. You know what I'm saying, and get up there where he'll be able to have something after football is over with.
Yeah, because even if not, he can go be a coach.
That's what I'm talking about.
Well, he can go be a coach.
That's what I'm talking about. They don't, and Deion, if you know what I'm saying, they just do these. Deion just stepped out of his comfort zone. I mean, he did what a father should do.
He did what a father's supposed
to do. But they don't want us to be fathers. That's been the problem here. Why you think they wanted the father out of the household?
Man, so that started back with the New Deal. As long as the father wasn't in the household, we can control what the mother does and what the children do.
Right.
And I don't know why people don't get it.
Right. And now this is black, even with LeVar Ball, black man that was in his kid's life.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? And he did keep it true. All his sons got to get to the league.
Right. Right.
They mad.
No matter how good or bad they are, he made that happen. Man, he had these ridiculous shoes.
Right. But you know what?
But he did it on his terms with his children, instead of doing it on somebody else's
But
terms.
when you look at it now, find out that the China dropped a dime, all the stuff is cheap.
Well, but we knew that in the first. You can just
Right.
go look at how it's built.
Yeah.
I don't understand how people was tripping about. I go pay $200-$300 for a belt
Right.
when a $25 belt will whoop your behind just like a $300 belt will.
And it's made from the same material.
Same material.
Crazy work. Crazy.
But this is war when you want to have war.
That's why I say we not ready. We don't know war because we don't know business.
No, we don't.
Business is warfare.
Yep, that's it.
Business is warfare.
Yeah.
That's why we are worker bees. That's why we spend money, and that's why we don't build nothing.
Yep.
That's why right now.
Because we've forgotten.
Yeah.
We're comfortable in our oppression.
Yeah, facts. We then became worker bees.
Yep.
And for people who understand that, it's called consumers.
Yeah, well, that's all we were forced in that position, right?
Right.
We were led in that position.
Right.
They destroyed our towns in that position.
Right.
And there is no recompense for any of the things that they've done.
Right.
So when people talk about even reparations, how you gonna get that when we owned you? And the excuse is from the establishment is we've given you every opportunity. You're lying. You've never given us the opportunity.
Facts. Tell them again.
You're a liar. We've given you every opportunity to know. Oh, well, when they had affirmative action, it was cognitive dissonance and the Stockholm syndrome. Absolutely. We had affirmative action, and then there was a complaint by this white boy in Ann Arbor that going to University of Michigan Law School who said he was discriminatory because the people that you let in had lower GPA than I did. And that was not even the case. But they allowed it to go through anyway.
But see the games that they playing?
Right. So they did something in favor of him and his argument, but yet the proof was that most of the students there had a better GPA and all of the core classes that they all had to take than he did.
Fact.
But they let it go through anyway, right? So now you got your president that's saying we're going to close the National Museum of African American History, and yet you won't go study?
Right.
You got to go somewhere to learn instead of having your own study in your own house.
Right.
Or you want to study, come see me.
Or create your own library.
Or create your own library.
What you think if they build it, they can take it back?
Man.
That's if whatever I give you, I can take it back. This ought to tell you something.
Right. Right. So I gave you this museum and I can take it down.
Right.
And if they'll probably knowing them is they'll go tear down the monument in Washington the King.
All these
or whatever.
These
that don't mean that you can't go buy the book called Without Sanctuary.
Facts. Oh, you hip to that one? Without Sanctuary?
Well, y'all better get it.
I've been telling when they show you how they did the people in that Without Sanctuary, cold-blooded.
Man, and it's what gets me. We ain't talking about, 500-600 years ago.
Facts.
We're talking about less than 100.
And right.
Last public lynching was 1946.
Right.
Okay.
And it's right.
And you to me to tell me we want to talk about some damn kumbaya? Sorry, right plan, wrong man.
Right. That's what I'm saying. When you saying, I just was watching the video the other day, man. It was just yesterday. It was showing where the police. It was a black cop and a white cop. But I did read the comments. They said the dude got fired, but he should have got his ass whooped. Handcuffed the dude, punched the brother in the face. This is the stuff that goes on, but don't nobody want to say. To me, they be really letting these, you know what I'm saying, these officers have got out of hand, but you know why they out of hand? Because what was they here for?
Well, number one, but there's been no retaliation either.
Yeah, no, but I don't want to tell nobody to do none of that. Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But what was the police force started for? What was they called that force?
It was a slave patrol.
Okay. So who are they? Who are they still grabbing and yanking up?
It says protect and serve, but who are you protecting?
Man, go out in these neighborhoods and see who they gonna pull over.
Man,
go see how they talk to you versus how they talk to somebody. They
ain't talking to me like that.
No, I mean, man.
But in general, absolutely.
Yeah, look how they go talk. They're quite well. Why you on this side of town?
Man, listen. The last time I had somebody that stopped me, he was very respectful. and I was as well. But he had a legitimate reason
Yeah.
because I was out of order. Now you better not don't flash no flashlight. Don't look at my back seat because you broken my Fourth Amendment rights. Even though they don't mean anything,
Right.
I can at least say it.
Yeah, but to us, that's why they don't pay no attention to it. That's why you always see them snatching somebody out the car. They treat the man and the woman same far as black.
Black
They don't.
women,
They don't see no difference, man.
No,
when
because
they
they
come
don't
up
treat
there.
you. They don't see your humanity.
Right.
The only thing that they see is, oh, well, the narrative is and the propaganda is that y'all this way, y'all poor dads, y'all poor women, y'all poor mothers, y'all drink and smoke, and this is what you do all day. You lazy, you don't do anything, you labeless, syphilis, and you worrisome, and you don't need to exist. That propaganda's still in their mind.
And they ain't stopped it. You can go to Fox News. I remember when they were saying this, it's the blacks is on welfare, that's why the system, and you come find out we only 13% of the population.
And less than that percentage on welfare.
Right. But
way less.
But the first people who they gonna blame? The black community.
Yeah, of course, because you blame the black community for slavery.
Yeah.
After we got freedom and whatever, emancipated or whatever we're supposed to have. And then any decadent and any ill will that was going on in society, you blame black people. Go back and look, 1915, Birth of a Nation.
Right.
Cecil B. DeMille. It's a movie. You can get it on YouTube. It's 3 hours, 11 minutes, and 15 seconds long.
Right.
Go look at the movie. And that all white characters in blackface. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
All white characters in blackface talking about how black men were this, that, the other, and all of the other stuff. Go back and they put it out there.
And what was it played at?
It was played in all white societies.
No, in the White House.
In the White House. Yeah, it was played everywhere. Everywhere white folks was. Because we want to make sure that you understand the propaganda of these people that we just had enslaved for 300 and something years.
Yeah, that shows you. You look at these, man, listen. Man, even the movies that Mississippi Burning.
So the same thing. The same thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then when he got revenge, what they want to do? Kill him. I don't remember the whole movie.
Yeah. And go watch, listen, that's why I tell people, go watch Sinners. You're going to get to see the racism in that.
Right.
You're going to get to see all the jewels that's been dropped. Like, I will say that. Even look at Hollywood, the racism of Hollywood.
Man, it's always been like that. Old Hollywood,
Fact.
And those characters have not changed. Mm-mm. Those characters have not changed. You still had the man that's going to dress as a woman. You still had the what they call step and fetch it. And it wasn't, that man was one of the most highly intelligent men in Hollywood. Fact. But because for him to want his desire to act, he had to act in this character so that he could at least get roles.
Right.
But yet when you talk to him, this dude had an IQ of 186. He was a genius.
So he had to dumb it down.
He had to be a dummy in order to sit around there. And then we want to use step and fetch it in the wrong terms.
Right. Right. I agree with you. We ain't going to have you burn out, brothers. I ain't going to. Professor, you got any, give him a shout out for we can get out.
All right. Well, family, since we've had a few people in here to speak of the church, and the church is not where this phrase comes from, but study to show thyself approved. Go get the letters of Willie Lynch and look at the system, and then take a deeper look at yourself and start to uproot some of those things that are inside you that you know that are part of how we look at each other. And at the end of the day, when you see somebody that looks like you, speak, tell them hello, tell them I love you. Just because. If we start to build some sort of bond, and we can break these chains. It's easy. I love y'all. We appreciate you. Have a good week. Until the next time.